But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken. We just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using stock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Len, Refracted Curvature, Neil, Surf Duddy, and a whole bunch of people in the Flipside Discord server. So, welcome one and all.
How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Get an early start.
Yeah, I want to do a bit more book editing, and my wife's going to take both kids swimming at about 4 p.m, so I know it takes us 10 or 15 minutes to actually get settled and started. So, to give us a full hour, I've decided to just start the live show a little bit early. And then once she's back from the park, I'll finish the live stream and then we'll get back onto editing the Gravity chapter of my book. So I was listening in vaguely while running around getting the show started to you guys chatting, and you seem very positive about the book, having sat in a couple of the sessions now. You seem pleased with the...
Absolutely.
Good. Very pleased to hear it. I want to do a bit of promotion.
It's getting very exciting again, Nathan. Let's put it that way. And I like the route. I like the route you're going to bring a little comedy in at it like that. Oh, it's great. Can't wait for it to be finished and on the shelves.
Okay, so when Neil says comedy, what he's referring to is the general view of the shows currently live, that what we are dealing with is quite a geeky subject. You know, it appeals to your 12-year-old boy. But as you grow up and just look at it from the outside, and you go, God, this is boring and tedious. So to inject two things in the editing process, which is more like rewrites than edits, but nevertheless, the rewriting process, if you want to call it that, has included the flat earth prerequisite element that we've covered for the last couple of years, and indeed a humour element in terms of highlighting how snoozeworthy it is to learn about things like gravity, because they're boring. They're for the dweebs. Now, we have, by default, learnt about these subjects because we were told when we got here from our conspiratorial paths that it was worthy of our time to look into how heliocentrism doesn't work. So in order to do that, you need to know how it is alleged to work and function and operate, and that has eventually led us to an appreciation that all roads lead to the flat earth measurements used for even your heliocentric belief. So in so doing, I've included that sentiment, which is that, yes, if you're reading through this, you might be falling asleep. And that's because it's boring. So I'm going to be a little bit of, self-aware in terms of my literary skills in terms of writing this book. So that's somebody who's just read through some very heavy information-based, if I could say it, material, gets to the end, and while they're going, God, that's a slog, I highlight it. It's like, yes, it is. It's a slog, because it's been intentionally kept just that little bit too complicated for you. Now, that's by design, which is where I want to do this elongated shout-out that I was coming to, which is for Rob Ager. And Rob Ager had a video out which just showed Rob's genius, as far as I am concerned. Rob Ager is just a genius. He doesn't know it, but I'm just telling you now. If you're not subscribed to Rob Ager, he has suffered in a similar way to us, right, in terms of algorithmic censorship. And it's he might be unaware of it. It's because he's explaining to people via video reviews. So he essentially is a movie reviewer, but he's exposing propaganda and its uses in a lot of these movies. And as a consequence of that, he's gone from being an exceptionally good movie reviewer to downright dangerous, and therefore his videos just get knocked off the list, a bit like me. You have your name with a score line through it rather than under it, and the next thing you know, you've vanished from YouTube searches. Well, that's Rob Ager for you. Now, Rob Ager will be familiar to people who've been around me for a number of years because I've promoted him many times previously. But he was the first to highlight on video things like the 2001 A Space Odyssey's use of the screen to propagandise you. That's what the monolith is, in case you hadn't figured that out. It's a screen turned on its side, 16 by 9 black blob that is actually representing the screen that he touches out and reaches towards the edge of towards the end of the movie. Nevertheless, this is an aspect that Rob is very good at dissecting, the very extensive levels of things like Kubrick movies. But like I say, in so doing, his sociology understanding, having been a former counsellor, and his general understanding of propaganda really is exemplary. Now, Rob Ager did a video on a manifesto of a psychopath, and he, in so doing, exemplified this exact point. Now, the video he's picked to do as a subject is just because he's come across this bonkers psychopath who's quite open about how psychopathic he is in his manifesto, written at a relatively early age, just late teens, early 20s. And this guy, I can't remember his name, it's unimportant, is producing this material that Rob Ager's then unpacking. But in the process of Rob unpacking this guy's bonkers, outlandish manifesto, he's highlighting propaganda and social structures and a couple of other things. And I put some timestamps together because I want to cover it. Now, hopefully he'll be forgiving of me because he's very intolerant of people just using his material. But I've, for that reason, picked out some very specific overlapping timestamps for us and what we do here on Flat Earth Debate, especially when describing the behaviour of some of the people who oppose us in the last couple of weeks. So it's actually called that. So the video I'm describing is called Manifesto of a Psychopath, and it's by Rob Ager. And the channel that Rob Ager produces his material on, for the most part, that is also censored, but nevertheless is his bigger channel, is called Collative Learning. So COLLATIVE Learning, and that's Rob Ager's channel with this particular video that came out a couple of days ago called Manifesto of a Psychopath. So what I'm going to do while we chat amongst ourselves is actually bring up that link and get it prepared in the next couple of minutes, which is what I'd have been doing in the 15 minutes I'd have been waiting to go live if I hadn't have gone live early, which I have, because I want to get the book editing done. But this is encouraging because it's like I didn't necessarily expect Rob Ager to be covering. It's not really a book, a manifesto, but like I say, it did just really bring home how, number one, big a genius Rob is, and moreover, how he has exposed hierarchies and social structures and propaganda in that video as a consequence of covering this manifesto from some guy whose name I forget. Does it sound this? Sergei Necheskev, Nechayev is the name. Sergey, Sergey. So yeah, so that's who he's covering. But like I say, it wouldn't really matter what he was covering, right? These things like the manifesto, for someone like Rob, who I'm very aspirational of, I think he's a great guy in terms of what he does on YouTube, and as a consequence of being censored, what he does on his own website to promote his material without the shackles of YouTube limiting its reach, and then he just charges for it, which more power to you, Rob, I don't blame you, especially in light of the level of censorship that he recently gets. But like I say, his attempts to unpack what he seems as an amusing folly in regards to some extremist writing a manifesto 150 years ago or however long it was, is a conduit for him to explain social hierarchy and propaganda very specifically. Those are the two things that I've picked out. Now, there's a lot of other stuff that he's covering in terms of the psychology of this particular psychopath and his manifesto in this couple of hour video that I've watched whilst driving around my kid to gymnastics class today. I was playing it in the car, and so I could get through the whole video because I was enthralled by it. It's not often I'll take my iPad in the car and link it up to my phone so I can actually watch something in its entirety, because most things don't grab my attention in the way that Rob Ager can. So I'm sure you can probably tell from my level of enthusiasm, my enthusiasm for Rob Ager, and therefore hopefully once I put the link to his video that I've just promoted in the chat, you will, as I always do request, let Rob know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that does allude to the fact that we are going to be covering his video in a very limited capacity, because I don't want him to get pissed off and ultimately strike my video for using his video. But like I say, I've gone to the effort of actually rewatching sections, getting timestamps, which I've never done. I think this is the first time I've ever done this. It's always, if everybody does a little, then I don't have to do anything. And by that I mean my panel are relied upon to get videos for me to react to. In this instance, I've actually done a bit of donkey work of my own for a change, which is very unlike me. Okay, so let's get a link to this video now. I've bought enough time waffling. Man, I can't believe how skilled I am waffling on about Rob, and indeed going and getting the video in the same period of time whilst live. So in the live stream chat, you can now see a link to this video by Rob Ager winging its way by to the limited audience that are here, given how early we are going live today. Although it's only 5 minutes before the usual time, so there might be a few people in the chat already. But this is what we're going to be covering. So as I say, it's called Manifesto of a Psychopath. Click on the link, and while we chat about this going forward, hopefully a few of you from the live stream chat will literally do this as we speak. That is to say, I'm not suggesting it for my health. I do genuinely want you to go to Rob's video now, if you are alive, drop a little comment that says, Nathan Oakley covered your video. He said you're a genius. That's pretty high praise. You know what I mean? And it is. How can I be deaf? He got one word wrong. Can't remember what it was about now, but he got a one word mispronounced. There you go. So I've knocked him down one peg just so he doesn't seem like I'm licking his proverbial too much. But I do think Rob's a genius. Go ahead. Whoever's open their line.
You did call us all donkeys just a second ago, right? Like I didn't.
No, you've done this. It's fun when it's someone else you're talking about. When I'm referring back to the panel and saying I've done the donkey work, that's not to say that you are donkeys normally doing that work. But you are smart in terms of spinning that around. I'm not having it, though. Very amusing.
Yeah. No, so is this guy a flat earther?
Not at all.
Or is he just not?
No. I would call him an anti-flat earther, if anything. From memory. I mean, that might just be like the prefect's name being remembered because he's a shitbag rather than a good student by the drunken, principal. But in this instance, from memory, he's actually an anti-flat earther. He's not into what we do at all. But that I can't remember. I could be wrong about that, like I say. In any event, I'll put his link into the live stream chat once more before I actually do dig out the timestamps, because I've got them on screenshot, so I'll have to have a look. Are you guys, what can I say that's nice and open to give me time? You were aware of Rob Ager before now? Have I covered him in your presence, gentlemen and ladies of the panel and Discord?
Never heard of him until now. I'm on the site right now.
Like I say, he's normally a movie reviewer. That is what he's decided to become visually famous for, if you like, as a YouTuber or a content producer, because he's more expansive than just YouTube, unlike myself. But yeah, that's what he's primarily. If you went to his website, what you'd see is a load of movie reviews that you can pay for, like a couple of bucks, and you download his 5 or 6 hour dissection of aliens or whatever. You know what I mean? That's what he's typically known for. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to play it out to you guys cold, right? So I'm going to pick some sections. They're only going to be tops a couple of minutes. And I'll just play it to you, and then you can just give me your opinion. I think it's just the 2 that I ended up timestamping. So this won't take long, I promise. Right, let's just do a quick sound check. Can you all hear this?
Language that's difficult to understand.
Get that?
Yes.
Language that is difficult to understand. I think I might go back a little bit further just to give this context a smidge.
Language that's difficult to understand. I mean, partially there's a sort of legal jargon element that brings a lot of money in, because by making the explanations complex and difficult for the average person to read, that means that the legal professions can charge huge amounts of money for interpreting it. That's certainly an element of our system, although
I actually think that's enough. I got it right on the nose with my timestamp. Perfect. That is enough. Do you want to hear that again? You quick?
Yes, please.
Now, the leaders in one of them might say, oh, well, our rules for proving your dedication to the cause are to go out and kill someone. This is one of the reasons why legal documents are often written in a very awkward language that's difficult to understand. I mean, partially, there's a sort of legal jargon element that brings a lot of money in, because by making the explanations complex and difficult for the average person to read, that means that the legal professions can charge huge amounts of money for interpreting it. That's certainly an element of our system, although it's not necessarily consciously by design, but it ends up being that way.
There is more that I want to cover in this particular clip because I've just remembered what comes afterwards. But have you got that so far?
Absolutely correct.
I agree with the premise.
You don't know if you agree with the premise of the complexity being induced so that the average man doesn't quite understand it?
No, I think the complexity is because, there's so many different situations and scenarios that can arise that, the language has to be complex.
Perhaps, I mean, you're giving a pass to the necessity to occasionally use complex language to explain complex ideas, and I don't disagree with that either. But maybe we'll play a little bit more and we'll get a further idea of whether or not you keep that attitude, John. We'll see.
Well, one of the reasons we have these really specifically worded laws is the legal professions are always trying to word things in a way that they can be totally understood for what is meant and can't be misinterpreted as something else. It's very difficult to do that. But ironically, it ends up making it really difficult for anyone to read in the first place. And that applies to many of the other rules in the book as well. They're too open to interpretation. And when he says that the revolutionists should only have friends in accordance to their usefulness in the revolution, he may...
I think that's all I wanted from that particular clip. I'll move on to the next one, right? My rhetoric over the last couple of weeks has been about you, the audience, right? Now, admittedly, when phrasing this previously, it's been towards a specific section of the audience, the dweebs that we formerly called anti-flat earthers, right? Those people who have a perception that they are consequential to what we do. Well, that's because in this particular context, by comparison to what Rob Ager's just said, they're the people who've seen the jargon and gone, no, I can decipher that jargon and therefore elevate myself above that person. Now, with that in mind, there's an impression that that person, once understanding the language, has something useful to exploit from the language or from the understanding. And in that regard, for us here in this discussion about how Earth is shaped, there is no benefit to the average Joe, anti-flat earther, arguing for their fart-sniffing knowledge that they've acquired. However, whenever there's something simple that can be monetized, you can be damn sure that that simplicity will be shrouded in a certain level of mystery. So I got the idea for doing something along these lines a couple of weeks ago when I was listening to an old song from about 15 years ago by a band called Tongue. And they've got a song called Bullets. And part of the lyric of the song is about catching bullets in your teeth and pretending that you don't know how it's done, even though the trick is really easy once you know how. Once you know how it's done, it seems really obvious, which is true for almost every single magic trick, right? The simplicity of almost every magic trick is kind of almost like groan-worthy when you find it out. But before you find it out, it's magic. Something's disappeared and been made to magically reappear again, right? And that is mystical and amazing and all the wonderful words that you can associate it with until you realise how simple the trick is. Now, for us, we've got a subject matter that can be summarised for us personally, recently, in a couple of words. Earth's measured flat. Now, if you look at the people who benefit from Earth and its measurements. It's the cartographers, map makers, surveyors, builders, people who are arranging journeys, that's travellers and travelling. It's all about the same thing, territory and wealth that is owned and governed by certain individuals, the wealthy ones, right? The very, very, very small percentage. Those are the ones who actually benefit and control all of the aspects that would require them to understand a very simple principle: Earth's measured flat. So what is necessitated if you want to retain that valuable knowledge when it is so simple? Well, make it complicated. Insert something that's just a little bit above the cognitive pay grade of most people. Now that leaves dweebs, the people I've just covered about 5 minutes ago, to go, oh, well, I can understand that. It doesn't take that much intellect for me to dissect it. It's like, yeah, but you're not a landowner. You're not benefiting from this. You're just sniffing your own farts, telling yourself how wonderful you are, and then arguing with conspiratards about it. That's me, where I fit into this particular description. But what Rob Ager's exposing is that the same is said for some of the laws that he's comparatively talking about when it comes to this manifesto, and the actual ends that the person writing the manifesto wants, that's power for themselves, while they simultaneously oppose the complex power ascribed to the wealthy, who he felt oppressed by as a kid, from what I understand. So there's this aspect, this crossover aspect, where Rob Ager's describing the complexity that is introduced to make things cognitively expensive. And for us, there's a byproduct of dweebs going, well, I can process that cognitively, and then standing on, in their minds, the bar table going, everybody praise me, the sun is heliocentric. You're like, what? Nobody gives a crap. We all find you tedious. You are genuinely boring. But that's not to say that this very simple concept that it is masking, that is the fact that Earth is measured flat, hasn't been obscured by complexity. I'm going to play you the next clip if I can get your opinions while I dig out the actual number that I need to go to. Any comments?
I would say absolutely. They try to make level not mean how we experience horizontal. Yeah, they try to confuse that, and it's not that hard a concept to get.
Right, I'm hoping I haven't gone too far back in terms of him reading out some of this manifesto. We'll see. If I have, just ignore the first few seconds.
Right, so rule number 14. Aiming at implacable revolution, the revolutionist may and frequently must live within society while pretending to be completely different from what he really is, for he must penetrate everywhere, into all the higher and middle level societal formations, into the merchant's commercial establishment, into the church.
Okay, I'm not too concerned with his reading of this manifesto. It's more Rob's words that I want you to focus on, not his reading of this manifesto on screen, right? So, as much as Rob is amazing and a genius, he, in this instance, does need the conduit, and the conduit's this non-related manifesto that I couldn't give a crap about. But his words, in terms of his dissemination of the knowledge thereafter, is what I do want you to pay attention to, which will come shortly.
The gentry estate and the world of the bureaucrat and military, into literature, and also into the third section and even the Winter Palace of the Tsar. Now, obviously, that last part is a specific Russian context from the time. But isn't that really interesting? He says that the revolutionist must, pretend to be completely different from what he really is. At the same time, that's what this very manifesto is asking of the individual. It's saying that the revolutionist should have no emotions, no attachments, which is impossible. A person...
Yeah, I've gone back about a minute too far. Sorry. We'll just play it through. We'll get to the bit I want in a second. I think it's...
cannot do that. And so he's asking the revolutionists to pretend that they have no emotions and no attachments when they actually really do. And also when he says that the revolutionists must infiltrate every aspect of society, and he talks about military and the church and everything else. Well, we kind of get that going on, don't we, with a lot of modern day real social movements, as particularly the ones that are run by people who have a great deal of money.
Here we go. This is where you need to pay attention.
try to infiltrate the media. They try to infiltrate Hollywood, entertainment media, video games, everything, so that they can sneak in there and slip their message out. And it's so obvious when they do it. You know, you get these movies and games that come out that are just full of propaganda and this news media stuff. And all you have to do is look at who is providing the money, who owns those organizations, and what kind of agendas they're pushing generally.
That's pretty much enough. Okay. Any comments before I repeat my exact same rhetoric that I repeated a moment ago? What he's saying is, look at who actually benefits. So when we are in quote-unquote debate with dweebs, they aren't actually benefiting beyond their own fart-sniffing capability, their delusions that they're going to impress the girls down the pub bar, for you Americans. They're not, right? That's just delusional. But there is still a necessity to have a heliocentric worldview superimposed over what is very basic and simple. That is to say, Earth's just measured flat. You all learn about it in the geography class. I learned about it in the geography class. I've appreciated what I was taught in the geography class 10 years into what has been labelled as a conspiracy subject about people, as opposed to the geography of how Earth is measured. Now, when you appreciate why there's so many maps, you then realise that the maps are, like Rob Ager just mentioned, propagandised. Now, we experience this in a very general way, and as Rob Ager's just pointed out, in a kind of obvious way. That is to say, when you see a level of propagandization in a movie or a video game, you might immediately spot it and recognise it for what it is. Somebody who has infiltrated a certain genre of video games so that they can put their message into that video game. Now, for the uninitiated, it's not that they're spotting it and groaning, like with the magic trick. They're not spotting it at all. Now, that is only true for somebody who has the money and resources to intentionally infiltrate a given genre just so they can put their message in it. Now, if you've done that for a long enough period of time, you can end up with the scenario we have with heliocentrism. It doesn't change who owns the land, who governs you. That will never change. You're governed by the people, the very small 1%ers that have all the money and own all the land, right? And that gets worse in terms of how you look at that statistical divide in terms of wealth. But those are the people who are creating the maps and building the buildings. So it's so simplistic. You need heliocentrism to get this subject that's so basic, so simple, so easy to understand, into the realms of a magic trick that you don't need to be exploiting. You don't need to know it's flat. But we do if we're creating maps with that information. We do if we're creating systems of mapping with that information. We do if we're going to put the buildings that you're going to work in up. We do if we're going to tell you which direction you're going to be travelling in and how long you're going to be travelling it and which waypoints you'll definitely log on the way, right? Those are the people who actually benefit from hiding the most simplistic geographical fact you can ever understand. Earth's measured flat. But the wealthy who control you and propagandise you with all the maps that you argue about when you're sniffing your own farts telling yourself it's bullshit. There you go. That's pretty much it from Rob Ager. I'll put another link to his video, which is called Manifesto of a Psychopath. Go and watch this video, right? I've taken two little snippets that correlate with what we do here, mainly so I can shout out Rob Ager, because I was so enamored with what he was doing in this video. His explanations of social structures and propaganda and hierarchies in this particular video is outstanding and worth dedicating a couple of hours to sitting and listening to. So I couldn't recommend this video highly enough. I've literally gone to the effort of figuring out a way of weaving in a couple of little clips from it into what we do, just so I can go to the extent of promoting it, so that you, who may be uninitiated, I can't assume everybody understands this stuff, but because he's got a conduit of somebody else's very glaringly, outrageously bonkers manifesto, his consistency, Rob Ager's consistency, in exposing hierarchies and propaganda, most importantly in this video, is second to none. It really is exceptional. So go and check out his video and let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment, because this is just pinnacle Rob Ager, absolutely outstanding, really good work. And to be honest, the subject matter is irrelevant. The fact that he's covering some narcissistic asshole who wants to take control of everybody with a crudely written manifesto is irrelevant. It just kind of brush through that and focus on what Rob Ager's explaining about society in general, and you'll glean the value that I'm hopefully putting across to you as my audience. So yeah, there is a link to this video, Manifesto of a Psychopath, Insane Ideas of Sergei Nenchev. And yeah, go and check it out. It's on Collative Learning YouTube channel.
Is it safe to say that this is like he has no self-reflection upon his opinions on flat Earth whenever he's able to break it down like this, but not recognize the problems with heliocentrism?
I can't honestly remember his position on flat Earth, and it's one of them that maybe I've mentioned it in passing. I know I've left comments on Rob Ager's videos before, and I get a distinct salty memory of him being in disdain for the subject, or pouring scorn on people by an analogy that used dumbness in conjunction with flat Earth, or something like that. That is to say, he took what is considered to be the stereotypical archetype, stereotype, the attitude of what is created to be flat earthing and a flat earther, and that isn't geography. That's not Earth being measured flat. It's none of those things, and he poured scorn upon that in a time that I did not necessarily recognise that to be the case. Therefore, I was self-righteous in finding that egregious. But that's from a very vague memory. I can't remember if I'm thinking of somebody else. It may not be him. He may have never discussed it. I just can't remember his position on the subject beyond a vague memory. Nevertheless, it doesn't matter. Even if he was the staunchest anti-flat earther out there, it wouldn't change his acute understanding of sociology and people in general. I think he used to work as a counsellor, and, you know, in some instances working with dangerous people and criminal people, and, you know, something that would get your adrenaline pumping and get your knowledge base up pretty quick for sort of survival reasons, let's just say. So he's had an interesting background, Rob Ager. He'd be a fascinating person to just be in the pub with and chat with, you know what I mean? Not only because he's dissecting things that everybody loves, which is movies, which he may despise if you sat with him in a bar. I'm not so like me. If you started talking about flat Earth with me, I'd be like, I'm not at work, you know. You know, you can go and buy one of my videos if you like. What might be his attitude if you started talking about aliens with him or 2001 with him. He might roll his eyes, right? But nevertheless, it's just an interesting guy. His general attitude. He's not dweeby, right? Another one of the cool kids, if you will.
Yeah, send the cool kid a copy.
Oh, of my book? I'm not thinking of it that end from a selfish point of view. I mean, I might when it comes to the time that I go through the list that I've already accumulated of people I need to contact. He's not on it. I might go through that in a minute, actually, because people get an idea of the tour that I'm hopefully going to go on, or at least the people that I'll be contacting. And if they know preemptively that there's going to be someone contacting them on my behalf to get them on to get me onto their shows, they might be more receptive if they're being talked about in advance. So I'll go through that list. As I say, Rob Ager's not on it. My interest in Rob Ager is purely for the benefit of my audience, right? It's like a gift that I can give to you if you've never heard of him, right? Because you'll go out and then you'll have a lot of raised eyebrow moments whilst listening to Rob Ager, because he's a very insightful guy and intelligent. If you like movies and you like intelligence, then you'll like Rob Ager. So, you know, that's kind of like me going to you, the audience, have this YouTuber. This is Pucker. This is high quality YouTubing. Go and watch him. Not because I want to go on his stream and promote my book. You know, I mean, I might now. You've suggested it. Sounds like a great idea, but that wasn't my motivation.
Do you have that definition by sustainable by design offhand
Of what?
of an elevation angle?
Yep, why do you want that?
Just to give somebody in chat an answer.
Okay. The altitude angle, sometimes referred to as the, quote, solar elevation angle, describes how high the sun appears in the sky. The angle is measured between an imaginary line between the observer and the sun and the horizontal plane the observer is standing on. End quote. Full stop. Sustainable by design. Definition, altitude angle.
Thank you.
Just because it's an elevation doesn't mean it has to do with the surface of the Earth.
That is specifically what elevation means.
But that should be something that clicks, you know? When somebody says elevation from what, the penny should drop. So I don't know.
Indeedy weedy. So yeah, I'll just do another plug because I don't know if we've got an audience that we may not have had when I first started plugging this, and there's over 50 people watching now. So I'm going to do it one last time. I've put a link to Rob Ager's video, which is called Manifesto of a Psychopath. And as opposed to my usual motivation when I say go and let this person know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, the idea is to kind of trigger that YouTuber into a recognition of us to help algorithmic success that we just don't get because we're censored. Well, Rob ain't going to give us that, right? He might have a reasonably decent sized YouTube channel with several 100,000 subscribers, but he's almost as suppressed as we are. So in this respect, it's just, no, I genuinely want you to share the YouTube algorithmic love with Rob to express my love of him with you, the audience, who will definitely benefit from being a subscriber of his. And, you know, you'll learn things from him, an insight into life, not just the movies that he's doing, you know, because he's just a good guy. So, yes, please do actually pop along and subscribe to him. Like, I offer him as a channel that I would actually recommend rather than just some rando that we're covering with disdain. You know, as much as we have talked about my vague recollection of him covering or talking about Flat Earth in some context at some point, that is definitely not why I'm sending you there. So you're not going to antagonise him, you're going to acquire him as a subscription so that you can benefit from his knowledge. So yeah, go and subscribe to Rob Ager immediately if you haven't done so already.
Already did it. So Nathan, now, is this even worse to go back and forth with? Because you get something stupid like this. Horizontal is just a definition. I can define a horizontal for a sphere. No, you cannot.
Well, it's not just anything. When you're talking about measuring with respect to this, part of the angle is formed with the horizontal surface, the plane of reference that you're utilising for the angle. In this instance, contextually, by definition, it's an elevation angle. Well, elevation, if part of the angle formed with that elevation is the surface level. Now, if it's not level, that's to say it's a curved surface, then it won't afford you an angle. Now, it does. It's widely used and forms part of the systems of mapping that are being exploited by people who are rich. Yeah, go and look into the history of propagandization and gerrymandering when it comes to maps and territories. You don't own them, you fucking dweeb. Why are you arguing with Neil in this regard if you're in my chat, right? Are you going to benefit from convincing the world that level for an angle measurement curves? No. Now, what you are doing is boring the people around you by going with your adenoidal voice, actually, horizontal's just a definition. Oh, piss off. Do you realise how irritating? You're like a dose of thrush. That means you're an irritating cunt.
I'm glad you said that because I was going to ask for I was needing clarification on what that word meant. Thank you.
It says, yes, how do we know a surface is actually more or less flat if we ignore topography? We don't ignore topography.
Let me just do it one more time. Right. You, dweeb, are not doing anything with this stuff. So when you go, what do we need to do with it? You don't, you stupid dweeb. Right? You're not producing any maps. You're not designing calendars or solving epicycles. You are a fart-sniffing dweeb who is utterly inconsequential to this discussion. Do I make myself clear, dweeb? Yeah? Stop aggrandizing yourself like we, meaning you, have some consequence in this stuff. You don't. We've already got maps. We've already got navigation systems. We've already got waypoints and flight levels. You had nothing to do with them. Now, your understanding of this is utterly inconsequential, like you. You are utterly inconsequential. You have no bearing on any of these things, and your understanding isn't required. I hope you understand. Self-aggrandizing, fart-sniffing dweebs. Why do we need to understand topology? You don't, you stupid dweeb. Why are you sniffing your farts around me? You just stink. Go away. Now, if you want to dissect the actual use of these systems practically, it will very quickly lead you to rich people propagandizing things like maps. They're not you fart-sniffing dweeb.
I think it's interesting, though, that he would approach topology, which is with respect to a flat plane, and put it in opposition of surface level, which is also with respect to a flat plane, and think that he has some kind of destructive dichotomy, maybe?
Maybe. We're talking about idiot dweebs here that have no bearing on anything and have just aggrandized me personally so that they can, by reflection, levitate themselves on the pedestal they're knocking me off. No, I don't have any consequence in this. Why are you appealing to us about how we deal with topographical changes? So are you making a map? Are you coming up with a new calendar? Were you figuring out a new way of dictating the flight levels to aircraft? Were you coming up with a new navigation system for the boats? No, dweebs. Yeah? We're going to rub this right in your faces from this day forth. You are utterly inconsequential. You don't matter. You don't need to know how flat Earth gets measured, but it is. I just didn't need to know it. Neither did you. But you're here arguing with us. All you're doing is wasting your pathetic dweeby little lives boring everybody. That's all you're doing. Yeah? Stop self-aggrandizing. It's irritating and makes you look sad and boring, and you stink as you sit around sniffing your own farts. Go and find like-minded dweebs who you can talk about topographical changes with, to the consequence of no one. Yeah, that's what you can do. I'm telling you.
His name is at Curvilinear Angle, so I kind of have a feeling who this might be.
a fart-sniffing adenoidal dweeb. They're all the same, right? Over the last 10 years, they've built themselves up by putting their opponents on pedestals, right? It's utterly sad. Get a grip, you bunch of fart-sniffing dweebs.
No, Nathan. Listen. No, it's a serious question. We need to show our line of reasoning. A definition itself is never evidence for reality.
Okay. Give me £50 and I'll reason this out with you. Because then it's consequential to something. That's me getting £50. Otherwise, fuck off. It will benefit nobody. It will make no money. It will benefit nothing. It will not bring us a new calendar. It will not bring us a new navigation system. It will not map the terrain or measure the terrain in any form or shape. You are just a wanker. Sniffing your own farts, telling yourself that we've got to have answers. Who's we? Or us? Oh, sorry, I wasn't out mapping the world today, Dumbo. Well, you think you're important for your answers you demand? No. Again, if we were out on the street and you were now in front of me while I was trying to walk away from you, you'd be getting a slap for being an irritating twat. Why do you think your demands for anything are worth our time? They're not. We're telling you how utterly inconsequential your opinion and question in this regard is when it comes to Earth, which has already been measured. Now, we have recognised how it was measured, and it was inconsequential to me and my knowledge. We already have the maps, we already have the navigation systems, we already have flight levels, we already have waypoints, we already have circles of equal elevation, we already have the latitude system. You didn't create any of it, dweeb! All you're doing is annoying the cool kids with your fart-sniffing questions.
I got a question for Refracted. Refracted, does a measurement need reasoning?
No, but to try to pull it into a psychology or, philosophy, right, you'll need to put it into a reason or logic scenario so that you can philosophize the measurement. But no, measurements don't require philosophy.
We spoke about this yesterday, right? Imagine on a job site, you give me a measurement and I say to you, well, let's reason this out.
Yes, let's put your measurement into an if statement. What? I ran a tape measure along this board, it's this long. Well, let's just put that into an if and then statement. Let's talk philosophy for a while. It's just like, you just get sacked. Yeah, that's when somebody's doing something useful with measurements. And by contrast, you get some fart-sniffing dweeb who's not part of the job coming along and suggesting we have to have answers in an if and then state. Oh my God, you're not measuring anything. You're not the one on the site. You've just walked by and seen real men working. And now you want to philosophize with them. Bugger off. Go and find other snot-nosed, adenoidal dweebs to talk shit that will affect nobody with. Now, the sooner you recognise how inconsequential you are to maps, building things, navigation, the quicker you realise that, the better. Now I've realised it, I'm more than happy to self-deprecate. I have no influence on this. Why are you appealing to me about this? Do you want to make a difference? Go and appeal to the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. Oh, what's that? You won't get through the door, you snot-nosed adenoidal little prick? That's right, you won't. And when you are in there, you're either in there because you're qualified to actually build things and survey, or you're not, in which case you won't get through the door. And if you do, you'll measure Earth flat. That's how it's measured. But you are some snot-nosed adenoidal annoying prick on the internet. Now, you could cast that straight back in my direction, so are you. Yeah, but like I said, I want £50 to talk about this like it's consequential. You don't want to give it me? Fuck off, you snot-nosed, annoying little twat. Yeah, nobody wants to talk to you. We don't like you. You're generally unpleasant to be around. You smell of farts. The ones that you keep inhaling while you're demanding your answers of people who don't like you. Yeah, that's annoying. Now, you can pay me and I'll give a crap about it for about 25 seconds and pretend like it's consequential that we have a debate about things that are, number one, inconsequential to you, and number two, already been measured, already being put into practical application by people who aren't you. Just understand it. Your self-aggrandizing days are over.
Nathan, I think you're 100% right. They're the ones that are passing by the men that are actually measuring things. And they think they have a say in it. Maybe these people need to go out and start, just using a tape measure. See what it is to measure things. Go get a theodolite.
Why? Again, These fart sniffers will take you at your word, Neil. They'll suddenly take that like they need to stick you on some pedestal, and they'll end up with a Simon Dan situation where he goes out for pure folly to measure Earth flat 1,000 times with elevation angles. I mean, Dan's measurements, nothing to do with the surface. He's suggesting he can create sphericity with these 1,000 flat Earth measurements. We've already got heliocentrism. We didn't need Dan. But in his deluded, fart-sniffing, dweeby way, he thinks he's consequential, like he's done the world a favour with his 1,000 elevation angles. What did he achieve? How much money did it generate? Did it create a new calendar? Did it build a new building? It didn't do any of those things. All it did was let Dan go, oh, my farts, they smell so good. That's all it achieved. Now, I'm going to point this out to you, because you're less important than Dan. At least Dan's got a successful YouTube channel to show for his fart sniffing. Now, what are you doing? You're appealing to me, aren't you? Via one of my friends on the panel. That's what you're doing. And meanwhile, I know I haven't got a pedestal in this regard. Yeah, I measured the sun on a Flat Earth Live with a 24-hour sun tracking event twice. What did it achieve? About as much as Dan's exercise achieved. Absolutely nothing. Most of the conceptual use of measurements he was employing were already long established before he was an itch in his dad's pants. Same applies to me. But you can aggrandise yourself like you're doing something important when you're looking at the sun and measuring it with flat Earth only elevation angles, like you've got some bearing on this. Wake up and smell your own farts. They stink. Nobody gives two shits what you dweebs do. We've already got the angles. The people who benefit them aren't us. They were benefiting from them when they produced them. They were benefiting from them when they propagandized them. They were benefiting them when they put you to work based on them. Now, your work didn't result in you owning the territory or creating the maps that are just a suggestion of control over land. It's land. These delusional idiots at the top could have the same criticism put at them. You think you will own this land? You're just a guy. You'll die at 100, best case. You think you're going to own anything? You don't. It's all an illusion. We don't own anything. We're here for a finite amount of time, and delusional muppets with a lot of money propagandise things like flat earth measurements, maps and navigation. After that's been done and everyone's got what they need, not you, the 1%ers, you come along and sniff your own farts telling yourself that if I measure Earth flat with 1,000 angles, I'm proving the sphericity. It's sad. You're just dweebs. When we all stand back from this stupid shit that has got people on top thinking they own stuff, land, because they propagandise a bloody map that they produce with flat earth measurements, and we step back from the dweebs after the fact that go, I understand the complexities of heliocentrism. Everybody praise me in the bar. Well, every pretty girl either looks straight through you or scorns you. So get a grip, dweebs. Realise your place in this. And that's you don't have one. Yeah? All of this stuff was done long before we got here. All we are is but pawns on a chessboard when we argue for no reason about how flat Earth is being measured. Doesn't matter if we have the argument. It doesn't matter if we understand the concept. There's no, it must be defined. No, it mustn't. It's already been measured, just not by you. Did you all go and drop Rob Ager a nice polite comment if you're in my chat? It's 54 of you. I'd hope a couple of you did. Even the fart-sniffing dweebs with their self-important attitude. You could also benefit from Rob Ager teaching you about what propaganda is.
Yeah, and even when they do the, well, actually, and try to correct you, the statement they give is contradictory to what they believe anyway. Like, if you read back that statement that Neil read out, it doesn't align with what he asserts what the world is. You know what I mean? It's like, it's completely delusional.
Yeah, once it got past the stage that we're with the rock and a hard place argument, in appreciation that they either accept how Earth's been measured to create a ball, or they don't. Go back to the Simon example. Now, while I'm sat here, feeling rather fat because I've eaten quite a lot of pasta, I can example it. What do you want to do? Do you want to deny your flat Earth elevation angle measurements, 1,000 of them that you made from surface level, part of the angle, because you don't want it to be a flat Earth measurement? Okay, well then you can't build a ball with that measurement. Oh, you do want to accept your foundational flat Earth surface level angle measurement? Then why are you creating a ball with it? You've just measured Earth flat. You either accept it's flat or you've got no measurement. Now, beyond that, that's what, 6 month old rhetoric. Beyond that, who cares? I know you require it to be flat. Distance is always going to be capable of giving a measurement to a drop over that distance. That's how you've essentially achieved your ball faith. That's it. I can summarise it in about 10 words. So what do I give a shit what you argue with me? I don't care. I know it's flat. That's how it's measured. For everyone. Oh, well, actually, flat doesn't mean flat. When we describe a surface level measurement from ground level for part of a straight line, we call it an angle. It's only because it's a really, really big ball. Oh, shut up, dweeb. You're boring the tits off everyone. Go away. You stupid nonsense. But we need to discuss it locally flat. Locally flat, you just don't understand big balls.
Actually, the plane of reference has nothing to do with the surface.
That's what this show's going to get called.
Well, now
Actually.
somebody's claiming. Sorry, Nathan.
No, good.
Somebody's claiming that you need to update your definition by sustainable by design. So they're claiming, I guess, the new definition.
I
the
do.
horizontal plane is imaginary as well.
Just break this down. You're telling me I need to update my sustainable by design definition. I'm not sustainable by design. Do you... I'm going to speak slower. Do you understand, fart-sniffing dweeb? It's called a definition. I didn't write it. Hello?
I think what he's
Nathan,
talking about is enough of them got together and wrote into sustainable by design and forced him to change it. And he wants you to recognize the power he has.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. We got the original one, so it doesn't matter.
Like, if it was defined differently, would it change what it is? It's like, okay, I'm not using it. I mean, when did I last measure an altitude angle? Never. I mean, I think I've had a play with my sister's sextant when I was out on their boats. That's about it. I mean, I wasn't doing it to save my life or anything, but that's what the tool's for. Dan did. Dan measured an elevation angle. If you want to go and argue, I'm telling you, go and argue with that fart-sniffing dweeb. Yeah? I mean, I've just pointed out how inconsequential all 1,000 flat Earth prerequisite elevation angle measurements Dan made were, but feel free. Go and tell him, no, you need to update your sustainable by design definition used to acquire 1,000 angles from a plane. Go and argue with him, that dumbass called Dan. Because we don't give a shit anymore. We know it's flat. We don't need this from you dweebs. You're just annoying us. That's all you're doing. You're just getting on our nerves.
Just as a side note, though, I guarantee you enough people have probably written into sustainable by design and complained about that definition that they changed it. Could you imagine if that's how you had to process this information, was attack anyone for the definition of a word?
It doesn't matter. This isn't a definitional category. In terms of what an elevation angle is, it's a useful, practically applied measurement of Earth's surface. I don't give two shits who defines it. I've got 25 of them. I don't care about them. I'm not even going to open the iPad to look them up, to give them to you, because I don't care. It's not about how it's defined. It's about how it's utilised. If it's elevation, that means height from the surface. If it's angle, it means two straight lines. Now that is me, Nathan Oakley, defining something. Why? Am I about to turn it into some profit? Am I about to make money from it? Am I about to produce a new calendar? Am I going to develop a new navigation system? Am I going to produce a new map? Am I going to measure the surface? Am I going to produce a new type of flight level? I am going to do none of those things. Why have you got me on this pedestal, you bunch of dweebs? It's sad. Oh, what's this? On screen now, we've got the surface level in Earth curve maths. What's that? You don't want it to be level? Okay, don't have it. You don't need this anymore. You see this where it says surface level? Just don't have it. I mean, obviously that means your ball faith is scuppered completely because you've got no measurements to base it on. That's measurements of surface level. They're right there in your maths. There it is on screen. Can you read? Are you blind as well as stinking of farts, dweeb? If you want to believe you're on a ball, you require surface level. Now, we whistled past this for years. Now that we've seen it, we don't care anymore. You need surface level to be flat. It's part of your mathematics that invent a ball. I don't need anything at all, right? I need my YouTube channel to come and watch my videos. That's it. What's my subject matter expertise? Oh, well, it's in how flat Earth gets measured. Yeah? There's a perceived debate. I wonder what title I could give my show. A flat Earth debate. That's what I'll call my show. What's that? There is no debate. How dare you call it such? I'll call it what I like, dweebs. And I like flat Earth debate as a title. It's wicked. It summarises what we do here. Discuss the perception of how flat Earth gets debated and how sad and fart sniffing it is when we just identified how flat it's measured for your own mathematics of Earth's sphericity. You require unequivocally that surface level gets measured for altitude and for depression angle with a parallel eye level. Those are facts that you require to believe you're on a ball. Those facts include, but are not limited to, 3 flat Earth measurements. Like it or lump it, you bunch of dweebs. Earth is measured flat by everyone. There is no exception.
You got a super chat, Nathan.
Shout out to Unitox Femu. So you didn't write definition for level and horizon, if I could speak. No, I didn't, Unitox Femu. Surprisingly, the English language was not invented by Nathan Oakley, and definitionally, the measurement of a surface level angle isn't mine. Shocking though that may be. I mean, obviously, if you're a dweeb and you want to aggrandise yourself on some pedestal, you'll need to put me on one so you can mirror that pedestal when you knock me off it and tell me that I'm wrong, that my sustainable by design definition needs updating. No. That's a useful tool to verbalise, unnecessarily, the fact we measure Earth flat with angles to dweebs who don't matter in this subject. Now, these days of me summarising what we no longer need to do past tense will soon come to an end. That is to say, we won't even dignify you with this response, explaining why it's not necessary. That, in and of itself, will not be necessary also in the very near future. Thank you for the super chat, Unitox. We really appreciate the support.
Nathan, was you not responsible for the 60 nautical miles and 69 statute miles after the elevation angle had been measured? Was that not you?
Am I responsible for the flat and linear 60 nautical miles and 69 statute miles derived from flat Earth prerequisite elevation angle measurements of surface level and Polaris? No, I didn't come up with that. Now, there are people who absolutely unequivocally benefit from having control over the descriptions of these systems on maps. And you know they're the people who own all the land. Now, it might be that their descendants now own that land after developing those systems to propagandise you into movement around the territories they own. What's that? This fart-sniffing YouTube viewer thinks he's consequential. Au contraire, fart sniffer. No, you're not consequential to how the systems that utilise Polaris and flat Earth measurements were acquired or developed. I mean, as I'm being asked about it, neither were I in any way involved with this process. It was long established off a flat plane before I was even born. Another shout out to... is this one? Kilkmon Kicks. Thank you very much. He says, say hi to Mr. O. Guess whose pension just arrived a few hours ago. As promised, here you go. 1 Corinthians 9:9, 2 Peter 3, 5, 6, and 7. Peace sign and crucifix. Well, thank you for the super chat. Made absolutely zero sense to me, Kilman Kicks, but I really appreciate the financial support and I've read it out, so there you go. Thank you for the super chat. Do you want to hear my list of people that I'm going to be asking a third party to get in touch with on my behalf?
Yes.
Yes, Nathan. So this is a list of just names, so it doesn't really mean anything at this point, but it means that at some stage, someone, I don't know who, will be acquiring contact information for each of these individuals, and at the very least firing off an email saying, can you have Mr. Nathan Oakley onto your show to promote his book, All Roads Lead to a Flat Earth? It is marvellous, or whatever they use to promote me. So that is the list I'm going to read out now. This is who I've got from asking my panel, can you think of any names, and indeed asking the audience, and a few people have sent me these in comments. Some people have sent me some of the contact information in the form of emails, email addresses, which I won't read out. So this is the list so far. Jesse Lee Peterson, Alex Jones, Eddie Bravo, Joe Rogan, Mark Sargent, Godfrey, Killer Priest, Infinite Plane Radio, The Higher Side Chat Show, Bro Sanchez, Eric DeBay, Dean Odell, Martin, that's Martin Liedke, Fisherman in a Box, UK Morning News, Phone Booth Podcast, Owen Benjamin, David Weiss, Stephen Chess, J Dreamers, Russian Vids, Phuket Word, Morgile, GeoShifter, Bro Sanchez, some of these are repeated, Patricia, Mike Tyson, Candice Owens, Taboo Conspiracy, Jaren, Dell, Witsit, Vice Media, Russell Brand, and the rest are all actual contact information with the emails for some of those that I put out there in the last couple of weeks. So there you go. That's the list. So if there's 20 people on that list, I would hope, as a general rule of thumb, that I will get onto a couple of shows off the back of contacting 20 people. The general rule of 10 for cold calling applies, which is to say that if I can get a list of maybe 10 people together, there's a good chance that one of those people get contacted and say, yeah, I'll have Nathan Oakley on my show to talk about his book, All Roads Lead to a Flat Earth. So given that there's about 20 people so far, I would hope that would result in a couple of different interviews moving forward. If you are in the audience and you'd like to give me a name of somebody that you watch and would like to see me on their show, pass on their name. If you've got their contact information, on all the better, send that to me as well. I'll add them to the list. It doesn't mean I'll get on their show, but it means I'll get at least fired out an email and have the suggestion that they get an easily accessible digital copy of the book for free, so they can hopefully read it before I come on their show and promote it. That's the idea, at least in terms of the publicity moving forward. I'll be contacting people proactively via a third party to get on various shows and hopefully promote the book.
Yeah, it would be 1 in 10 will answer you back, and then 1 in 10 out of those will accept your proposition.
Nah, it's not. I don't think it's that poor with direct contact. I don't think it'll be that terrible. I think it'll be 1 in 10 that get contacted personally via an email will actually add me on. Because they've already got a show. It's not like it's not like leaflets going through doors. It's not. If it was just random people, then they might have no means to put me on a show because they haven't got a YouTube channel. But it's not like leaflets going through front doors.
I wouldn't have thought Mark Sargent had been a no-brainer. Like,
but I'm saying these are targeted. Just to speak to what John's just said, these are specifically targeted individuals. So if you listen to all those names, they have all had some exposure to the subject we cover or specialise in at some stage of their YouTubing career. That is to say that they are specifically targeted. There isn't an exception to that. All of them have had exposure. So no, not all of them will want me on their show. 1 in 10 I expect, because all of them have had an interest in the subject matter at some stage to a certain degree. So it's a very target specific audience. That's why I'm asking my audience who they want me to go to, and that's where the list has been accumulated from. People in the audience and indeed on the panel saying, no, if this is someone I've watched about a different subject and they've covered Flat Earth at some stage or something like that, there's typically a reason why you'd want it. Either they're an anti-flatty or they've had a flatty on or something like that. So yeah, based on that, I would hope that the statistics stack up 10 to 1. Coolio. Right, I'm going to round out this live show. Anybody got anything else to add? If not, I'm going to round out this second.
Nope, all good.
All good then. With that, I'm going to say another massive, huge, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's pre-show and live show possible. There will not be an after show to follow, as I'm going to do a bit of book editing work with my wife. So a massive thank you again to all of you. Smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, hit me up on PayPal, joined as a Patreon, all that kind of good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If Earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken. We just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.